Morning, Vox Church.
Morning.
Marco.
That's better.
Hey, who's starting the song again? Oh, you're singing the song?
Well, somebody's playing music for me to start too.
One.
Gotta give me a notice.
Slow down, take time, breathe in, be set. Need to feel what's to come. The thoughts in his mind, always higher than mine. He'll reveal all to come. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the way. He's in the way. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Raise my soul, find strength in joy. Let His words lead you on. Do not forget His great faithfulness. He'll finish all He's begun. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the way. He's in the way. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. And you who hold the stars, who call them each guide will surely keep your promise to me that I will rise and victory. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the way. He's in the way. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Failing. He's never failing. He's never failing.
Morning, everyone. So we're in a new series called Freedom. And today is all about, yes, exactly, yay, freedom. Well, we're going to go really sad next. Sorry. But no, so we're, today is free to be angry, and we're talking a little bit about Moses. And there's this whole thing that Moses, that we hear about Moses, where he probably has a speech impediment. He doesn't do a lot of speaking for himself. And last minute this morning, we decided that we were going to do a song called All I Can Say. Sometimes that's all you can say. You don't have much. There isn't much. So we'll give it a shot, and we'll see. Lord, I'm tired, so tired of walking. Lord, I'm feeling so alone. Lord, the dark is creeping in, is all that I can say right now. This is all that I can give. This is all that I can say right now, right now. So, this is all that I can give. Didn't see crying. Didn't you hear me call your name? Wasn't it you I gave my heart to? Wish you'd remember where you sat down. This is all that I can say right now. No, it's not much. This is all that I can give. That's my everything. This is all that I can say right now. No, it's not much. This is all that I can give. Didn't notice you were standing here. Didn't know that that was you holding me. I didn't notice you were crying too. I didn't know that that was you washing my feet. This is all that I can say right now. What's not? This is all that I can give. That's my everything. This is all that I can say right now, right now. What's not? This is all that I can give. That's my everything.
So I just finished writing a book on penguins.
What?
Yeah, yeah. I think it would have been
What
easier.
is going on up here? Because that's really funny.
I think it might have been easier if I had written it on paper instead. There you go. There you go.
Oh. May the 4th be with you.
Revenge of
Nice.
the 5th. Okay. Okay. So we've got all the important things covered. Very good. Very good. Announcements. One person has come to me and told me that they have a barbecue date for us in July 19th. We have a barbecue on July 19th. Now we know. But there's a few weeks between here and July 19th.
Anybody else putting it in their phone right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang.
Just so- Well, details to follow, but you need to be there for a Vox barbecue on July 19th, so mark your calendars. However, there are a few weekends between now and then, and I enjoyed hanging around a bonfire on Friday night, even though it was really cold. But I have hope. I have hope. The sun came out this morning. There was warmth.
She wasn't there.
There was warmth in the air. I have hope that maybe we could have barbecues without freezing. That would be even cooler, wouldn't it? Even cooler. So, what's that, Tim? Or warmer. Yep. It would be warmer. That would work. So, if you are interested in hosting a Vox get-together in your backyard over the next few weeks, few months, please have a look at your calendars, talk to your significant others, make some plans. It's better to talk to your significant others before you invite the church over, but to each their own, to each their own. And we will look forward to connecting some more over the next few weeks and months. Do we have birthdays today? We do not. I know we have birthdays next week.
I would like to point one thing out. This is very, very nice. I'm glad there's a part of me that, like, I miss Nathan, but I'm also glad that he's not here, because at least you were talking about having hope. He's always talking about embracing hope and grabbing hold of hope, and there's never any consent or anything like that. At least you're just having hope. That's nice. If you don't know, my wife's name is Hope.
I'll have Hope over for dinner at the very least. Okay, so if we have no birthdays, then we can go off live stream and head off to get our snacks, and we can meet back in a couple of minutes. Off live stream,
blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel. In grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. I got my Savior has ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace.
We're going to sit here this morning for a little bit and play this song. And you know how we do communion? When you're ready, come on up, take the elements. You can bring them back to your seat, take them as you please. And then when you're done, when you're ready, join us. We're just going to create some space for you.
just sit. Well, I could just sit and wait for all your goodness. Hope to feel your presence. Well, I could just stay. Well, I could just stay right where I am and hope to feel you. Hope to feel something again. Let's do that one again. Well, I could just sit. Well, I could just sit and wait for all your goodness. Hope to feel your presence. Well, I could just stay. Well, I could just stay right where I am and hope to feel something again. Well, I could hold on. Well, I could hold on to who I am and never let change me from the inside. Well, I could be safe. Oh, well, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave. Never let these walls down. You have called me higher. You have called me deeper. And I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You have called me higher. You have called me deeper. And I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You lead me. And I will be yours. Well, I will be yours for all my life. And I will be yours. Oh, well, I will be yours for all my life. Well, I will be yours. Oh, well, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy. I will be yours. Well, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy light the path before me. You have called me higher. You have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. Oh, you have called me higher. You have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You lead me, Lord. Where you lead me,
I'm stealing so much stuff today. I'm just in a steely kind of mood today. I have plans. It's all good. I even found the grumpy chair. It's the closest I could find to in the 7 dwarves to angry, so, we get the grumpy chair. There we go. There we go. It's going to be fun. Thank you. Thank you. That works great. It works great. I realized after I preached the last time a couple weeks ago, Trevor and I were talking, and you know how I put my hand like over here, and then I had my hand over here, and I had my hand over here? He's like, that was good, but what would be better is if you had something in your hand when you did each of those things. So today I'm going to try having something in my hand. We're going to see whether this like helps us keep track of all the bits that are in my brain when I show up to preach. We'll see. You can give me feedback. I openly, welcome your feedback to this. We'll see whether it makes it better or worse or just, different. We'll see. Okay, to get started this morning, I want you to imagine something with me for a few minutes, okay? Got your imagination caps on? Ready? Okay, so I want you to imagine for a few minutes that you're Moses. Everybody down with that? You live 1,400 years before Jesus was born. You are 80 years old, give or take a day. And one day, you're minding your own business, walking along in the desert, minding your sheep and your business and whatever else. And then this bush that's burning but doesn't burn up starts talking to you, as they do. As they do, it tells you to take off your shoes and tells you to throw down your staff, and it turns into a snake, and then you pick it up, and then it's a staff again, and like some other weird stuff happens. And then you go and you argue with Pharaoh, and you tell him that he's supposed to let the Israelites go, and he says no, and then he says no again, and no again, a few more times, and 10 plagues later, you and the people are set free, and 10 plagues in a miraculously dry riverbed, or seabed, I guess. You and the million men and all of the women and children and animals of the Israelite people have crossed across the Red Sea on dry land, and then the sea has swallowed the Egyptian army. And another 3 months of leading this impatient, grouchy, ungrateful horde of human beings and animals, and you have now come to the bottom of Mount Sinai. Still with me? Still got your thinking caps on? Great. Okay, so for days, God has spoken through a cloud on behalf to you, and you have translated God's words to the people. And you've told them a whole bunch of laws and commands about how they're supposed to live. You got through all of it. You say, okay, so is everybody on board? And everybody says, everything you've told us to do, we're going to do. You're like, great, this is awesome. Maybe it's actually going to be okay after all. This tremendous, ridiculous task of leading a brand new people from slavery to nationhood, like maybe I can actually do this. Maybe with God all things are possible. And then you go up on the mountain, because God asked you to. And just you and God, you hang out there 6 days in silence, and then after a little while, God starts to talk again. For 40 days, in fact, in total. It's a nice escape from all the noise and bustle down there. I mean, you'd lived as a shepherd for 40 years, so you're kind of used to the quiet, right? And you're up there, and while you're up there, what God does is God tells you how to build the tabernacle, how to create a space for God to live right in the center of the people of God. Because that's where God wants to be. And you're so excited it's all new, like you've never actually built a building that was this many cubits long and this many cubits wide, and you've never actually had to figure out how to turn gold into lampstands and I don't know what else. Like none of this is in your wheelhouse, but okay, fine. God says it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it's all going great. It's all going swimmingly until one day God interrupts God's self. And God is suddenly and wildly angry. You might be a little scared at that moment. Not sure. God tells you that the Israelites, those lovely people that you left down there at the bottom of the hill, they have been up to no good. They have been. They decided that they got bored. They figured you were taking too long. They decided what they needed to do was to make a god for themselves, and so they made a golden calf. This is a wooden elephant. It is not a golden calf. Yeah, well, wrong animal, but I had to live with what I had in the room. So they have made this statue of a calf out of the gold earrings and the jewelry that everyone is wearing, and now they are sitting down to have a feast to the golden calf. You know, one of the rules that they said, everything you said we should do, we're going to do, one of those rules was don't have idols. So that's lasted like a whole 6 weeks, not even, you know. But there you go. These people, they've entirely, completely missed the point, haven't they? You're up there figuring out how God can live among these people, and they're like, God, well, you know, if he was really God, he'd show up more often, and Moses has been up there for a while. I mean, we're kind of give up on him at this point, right? Right? So, God's mad. God's angry. God, you might say, might just be on the verge of livid. So God, what does God do? God gives you an offer. He's like, so Moses, what do you think? Shall I just wipe out all of these people, start again? I'll keep you. You're still in my favor, but you know, I'll just wipe all of them out. I'll give you a new people. I'll try the experiment again. And Moses is like, you know, you're Moses. Do you say yes? Does even a little bit of you want to say yes? Like even just for a minute, these people have whined and complained. They've argued and bickered their way from Egypt to the mountain. Nothing you have done has been good enough for them. Nothing God has done has gotten any gratitude or appreciation. They've hardly even been willing to cooperate, right? Like, think about, those of you with kids, think about you have organized a trip to Disneyland for your kids, and they have whined, and they have complained, and every time you've stopped at a McDonald's with a play structure so that they could play for the hour while you were eating instead of like eating somewhere where they had food, they have whined some more and complained some more. Like, this is what we're talking about here, people. That's why you didn't go anywhere. Good point. But there's something about these whining, complaining people. They are kind of your whining, complaining people. They're cute when they're asleep, right? And so you talk God down from God's anger. You convince God not to wipe out all of these people. Instead, you head down the mountain with the stone tablets, the 10 Commandments in your hands. This is like the contract between God and the people. And you carry it down, and I wonder, are you hoping that when you get to the bottom and the people see the contract, they'll remember just how badly they've messed up and feel upset about it? Like, is that the hope? I'm not sure. But when you get down there, and you're within hearing distance, you're within seeing distance, whatever calm you had mustered as you came down the mountain is gone. It's gone. Those tablets are smashed to the ground. You lose it. You are not in control. This is not slightly perturbed. This is not just a little bit upset. This is not, I'm disappointed. Okay? You are angry. You see the calf on its pedestal in the midst of all the people. You see your brother, who's supposed to be the high priest of God, sitting next to the golden calf. In the place of honor, you see all the people laughing and talking and eating and drinking and cavorting around it. You can read into that whatever you want. And something inside of you snaps. The contract between Israelites and God that you fought so hard to keep at the top of the mountain has so clearly and obviously been violated that there was nothing for it but for you to smash it, wasn't there? It's like you ripped up a contract today because the other party's signature was so clearly just a sham. It was never going to follow through. And you pick up that calf, and channeling all of your anger, you grind it down into a fine dust, and you mix it with water, and you send the water around the people, and you insist that everyone takes a drink. That's how much their God is worth. You can drink it up. It can be gone in an instant. It's powder, it's dust, it's nothing. It can be removed without a trace. And then you rip into your brother. Oh, so help me. So help me, you rip into your brother. How could you have let this happen? Just how hard did they have to twist your arm, Aaron, before you said yes? Like, really? Really? But you can see it in his eyes. Dude did not put up a fight. Dude didn't even try. He would rather keep the peace than stand up for what's right. How could he? How could he? The audacity, the blatant disregard for the God who had rescued them and cared for them and provided for them. It leaves you certain that something more has to be done. Today it's a golden calf, but what will it be next week, next year? What's it going to be? No, if God's incredible vision for the Israelites has any chance of working out, they need to clearly choose God. So Moses, you call out, who's on God's side? And all the Levites, about a 12th of the total number, they respond immediately. They swarm at you. They are in 100%. But what about the rest of them? It's clear looking around that there are some people who are adamantly opposed to the path that God is laying out for them. So you tell the Levites, go strap on your swords. I got work for you. You set them to work killing anyone who stood in opposition to God. They killed 3,000 people that day. That's what the book of Exodus tells us. And when they're done, when all the screams and the shouts have died out, when the keening and wailing of fresh grief has been numbed into silence by the enormity of what has happened, you trudge back up the mountain, dejected and ashamed, to beg God for a forgiveness you know the people have no right to. It's a weird story, isn't it? It's a story full of anger, a story full of God's anger and Moses' anger and the Levites' anger. We're going to put that story to one side for now. Because who here grew up in a household where you learned that Christians shouldn't be angry? Okay, I've got some fellow comrades in this. For as much as it was insisted on in church and at home, through my childhood, my teen years, my young adult years, there's not actually a lot behind this. Yes, Nat?
Well, I kind of thought about it for a while until I saw Jesus just making a mess in the temple.
Okay, so you're going to get ahead of me. You want to come up and preach the rest of the sermon? I know you're good for it. Definitely. There's something to it. But some of us were actively taught this, right? Yeah, we heard this. So it comes from a couple of verses, as far as I can make out. First one is Matthew 5:21-22. You're familiar with the command to the ancients, do not murder. But I, Jesus, am telling you that anyone who is so much as angry with a brother or sister is guilty of murder. Carelessly call a brother idiot, and you just might find yourself hauled into court. Thoughtlessly yell stupid at a sister, and you are on the brink of hellfire, especially if that sister's me. The simple moral fact is that words kill. I guess we could make the case that James 1:19-21 kind of adds to this, right? It says this, post this at all the intersections, dear friends. Lead with your ears, follow up with your tongue, and let anger straggle along in the rear. God's righteousness doesn't grow from human anger. So throw all spoiled virtue and cancerous evil in the garbage. In simple humility, let our gardener God landscape you with the word, making a salvation garden of your life. Sounds awfully pretty. Sounds awfully nice, right? But even though there's this idea that anger is like an absolute bad thing, it's not quite that simple. There's the third verse, and there's really only 3 or 4 of them in the New Testament. The third verse is Ephesians 4:26 and 27. Now, my parents were really keen on Ephesians 27, okay? Ephesians 27 starts, don't go to bed angry. Don't give the devil that kind of foothold on your life. This is very important. It's very, very important. This meant that I had to make up with my brother before I could go to bed. And my husband, and anybody else. It was absolutely required. We got sat down on the steps, right? Mom and Dad in front of us, and me and my brother on the steps, and you must apologize to each other. Never figured anything out doing that. Never got to the root of any of the problems we were dealing with. None of that. None of that. But it was so important. It was so important. And what's wild to me, because my parents in general were pretty keen on, you should read verses in context. What's wild to me is they had completely taken this one out of context. Because you know what the verse that comes right before it says? It says, go ahead and be angry. You do well to be angry. Just don't use your anger as fuel for revenge. Huh. That's a little different. That's a little different than never, ever, ever be angry. I don't know. Puts it in context, doesn't it? Somehow it suggests to us that there might be a freedom to be angry somewhere in this Christian life, doesn't it? This idea that we're not only allowed to be angry, but that maybe we even do well to be angry as long as it doesn't fuel revenge. Well, that's not the message I got as a kid. And maybe you grew up on the same side of this verse as I did. Maybe you too grew up convinced that it was wrong to be angry, but maybe you grew up in a different kind of family. Maybe you grew up in a family where anger was just used to fuel all sorts of things. Maybe it simmered under the surface and made everybody sharp and pointed with each other. Maybe it erupted in all sorts of toxic and maybe even inappropriate ways, right? Anger can be anger left unchecked can do all sorts of damage. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. And so maybe you also learned a different kind of message that anger was wrong, right? Maybe you saw all of the ways that anger could hurt people, and you're like, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm just never going to let myself be angry, right? But either way, I think we're going to have to unpack this a little bit. And that's what we're doing with this series. We're unpacking some of the things we thought we knew. That's the point. Because clearly, there are ways of handling anger that are healthier than others, okay? Clearly, there are ways of being angry that are going to eat away inside of us, ways that will result in us doing things that will be detrimental, destructive to our relationships, ways that will take us as far away as possible from becoming the people Jesus would be if Jesus were us. But what if, like God, like Moses, there was a time and a place for anger, a right way to be angry, a healthy way to be angry? And as Nat so rightly pointed out, we have Jesus as an example for that. This table's going to get turned better if it has legs to begin with, I think. So, everybody remember, a few days before Jesus was crucified, he goes into the temple, and he finds all these money changers lying around. They filled up the court of the women and the Gentiles They filled it to bursting with animals and with money, tables full of coins, because they decided that the temple tax had to be paid in a special coin that was the temple coin. So you had to bring your money, whatever that was, you had to bring it into this part of the temple, and you had to exchange it with definitely not fair exchange rates. Definitely not fair exchange rates. And so Jesus makes a whip, and he goes in and he turns over the tables. Turns everything on its head. All right? This space that had been intentionally left in the temple so that women and Gentiles could have a way to worship God was being filled up with greed, with commodities, with hawking, with noise, with animal dung. It was a mess. There was no space left for the people at the margins to have any place to worship God. Moses got angry because the people had turned their backs on the God who had given them literally everything, their water, their food, their freedom, in exchange for a small golden statue. And Jesus gets angry 1,400 years later because this same God is being misrepresented and maligned. God's holiness is being twisted and perverted. God's expansive welcome is being made small and narrow. And the fact is, whether it's allowed or not, we do get angry, don't we? I love this guy. I posted on Facebook earlier this week, well, yesterday, because I was late getting this done, to see if anybody had one of these as a stuffy. We didn't have that, but Carol Ann offered a frustration pencil. So this is our anger guy, right? Someone cuts us off in traffic, and we feel threatened, right? Because it feels personal. What if they had caused an accident? What if they'd hurt us? What if they'd hurt the other people in our car who we care about, right? Feels personal. It's scary. We get angry. Or maybe our partner forgets our anniversary. And we take it personally, right? It feels personal. If they could forget this, what else could they forget? Maybe we're not the priority in their life that we thought we were. You know, maybe they just are bad at keeping track of dates. But that's not how we think, right? We don't think it through consciously. We go to that place of anger, right? So sometimes we express that anger in little ways, and sometimes it builds and it builds, unchecked until it pours into every part of our life. I want to be really clear here. This sermon isn't intended as a get-out-of-jail-free card for that kind of problem anger, that kind of anger that hurts and harms and destroys. That's not what this is. We also live in a world saturated with outrage. Maybe Rupert Murdoch wasn't the first one to figure this out, but he's got a lot to answer for on this one, the moment, right? He realized how much outrage sells. You can get really, really rich on outrage. You can get a lot of power with outrage. You can keep people really distracted from all the other things you're doing by keeping them outraged at little things that they can't do anything about. But the outrage of the news cycles, the outrage of social media memes, all of this, it's toxic sludge. It's not the living water that Jesus offers us to drink. It seeps its way into us. It turns us against each other. It isolates us, dehumanizes anyone who thinks differently from us. Elections are really bad for this, aren't they? Right? We've had a couple in the last few months. Whether we win and gloat over our neighbors turned enemies, or we lose and we're outraged that those people got in when the person we voted for didn't, there is nothing life-giving about staying on this outrage merry-go-round. Again, this sermon is anything but an encouragement to continue to participate in outrage culture. If you're feeling like anger's got you in its clutches, if you find your thoughts continually bent towards outrage and you don't know how to shake it off, I really encourage you to reach out to Roy or I this week. Yeah, we're both busy, but this is important. We will make time. Don't be afraid to do that. right? Both of us have spent some time figuring out how to do this in our own lives. We know how hard it is, but we'd like to walk alongside of you and help you get started on that process if you need a hand. But this morning, what I want to focus on, what I want us to catch hold of, is the kind of freedom we are being offered when it comes to anger. Because I don't think we talk nearly enough about not only the fact that we have freedom to be angry when we see God's name used to defend something unconscionable. I don't think we talk nearly enough about how important it is for us to be angry at the injustices around us. This is a bit wild to me, really, but the Bible is full of laudable accounts of this kind of anger, not just from God or from Moses or from Jesus, but it's throughout Scripture. In his book, What is the Bible?, Rob Bell says this is what we read again and again and again in the pages of the Bible: fearless, pointed, courageous, subversive, poetic, sometimes sarcastic, other times angry, heartfelt, razor-sharp critique of people, nations, systems, and empires, endlessly accumulating more at the expense of everybody they're stepping on along the way. This kind of anger isn't the kind of anger that hurts and damages. This kind of anger is the kind that leads to resistance. It gets us moving. It gets us rethinking how we're living, gets us rethinking how the world around us is operating, gets us into the ring, as it were. Gets us into the ring, right? There's another one, but it's buried at the bottom, so we're just going to have one. Gets us into the ring to show up for the kinds of fights that let God's kingdom come and God's will be done on earth a little more like it is in heaven. Now, the sermons I have heard about this type of anger have largely been in churches or settings very different than Vox. I want you to imagine this is one of my stools, because it wasn't in my bag when I thought it was going to be. But it's got, it's got peace signs on it. Could be a stool. Could be, right? They've been in the sort of churches and settings that focus a lot on activism. I don't know everyone in this picture, but I do actually know some of the people in this picture. And they maybe march and protest together as a church, or they show up at demonstrations. And these churches often draw on big, showy forms of protest as models for how to respond with resistance. A lot of those models don't even come from Canada. They often come from Black Christian leadership in the U.S., which is fine if you're in the U.S., right? If those form meaningful parts of your freedom to anger, even here in Canada, I'm not saying that they're a problem. But Canada is not the U.S., and even though there's nothing wrong with marching and flag waving and showy demonstrations, we're not all activists. And just because we're not called to be activists doesn't mean we don't see injustice around us. It doesn't mean that we don't see injustice around us that makes us angry because of the way that it misrepresents God, right? And that anger is correct. That anger is good. After all, living in Canada doesn't mean that God is always represented truthfully. It doesn't mean that God isn't being misrepresented or maligned. It doesn't mean that God's love hasn't been twisted or perverted in ways that are making society look less like God's kingdom, in ways that are making the church look less like God's kingdom rather than more like it. It does mean that we're going to have to figure out how we, the real people that we really are, embrace the freedom to be angry about these things, how we figure out what to do with not only our worries about whether Christians can be angry, but our convictions that as Canadians we should never be angry about anything, except maybe the fact that we're still not going to get the Stanley Cup this year. Sorry, guys. So how could we respond in healthy ways if we wanted to enter into the freedom to be angry about the things that make God angry? Where would we start if we wanted to be angry but we didn't want to sin in our anger? Like so much of what we do here at Vox, these are questions meant to serve as an invitation into a bigger conversation, right? Just because I'm the one sitting up here asking the questions does not mean I have all the answers. I don't have all the answers for myself, much less for us as a church. We're going to have to figure this out together. But I do have a few ideas to get us started. Whatever else we do, I think we're going to have to start our journey with anger about injustice by looking at the roots of that injustice. If we're going to make any difference in the world, we can't just have a knee-jerk reaction. This is the kind of anger that builds slowly as we become increasingly aware of it. And this step is so important because when we skip this step, we can really easily end up assuming that the thing we know is wrong for the wrong reasons, right? For instance, when we were still in our previous denomination, Nathan and Roy and I frequently had conversations with people at the denomination about our decision to fully include folks who are LGBT. People didn't like it. They were convinced that we were wrong. And one of the reasons they were convinced we were wrong was because of how they read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Because they were convinced that this was a story of a city that was destroyed because of gay sex. They were convinced about it. They were convinced. But here's the thing. The book of Ezekiel tells us there's a completely different reason for why Sodom was destroyed. In the words of God, in the book of Ezekiel, we read, "The sin of your sister Sodom was this. She lived with her daughters in the lap of luxury, proud, gluttonous, and lazy. They ignored the oppressed and the poor. They put on airs and lived obscene lives. And you know what happened? I did away with them." Pride, gluttony, laziness, oppression of the poor, arrogance. Those were the problems. Those were the injustices. It's so easy, especially in the outrage culture we live in, to get the root of the injustice wrong. But the first step to being angry and not sinning, I think, has to be getting clear on what exactly it is that the root cause of that injustice. Second, and equally important, is figuring out what justice would look like on the other side. Like, if your anger propelled you to action that led to transformation, what would that transformation be? Here again, we need to check with Jesus because I don't think we're always super great at figuring out what the solutions might look like. Here is a hint, though. If our solutions involve us ending up more powerful or more wealthy or more in control of our lives or thinking more highly of ourselves than we ought to, then we should probably go back and recheck our workings. We probably haven't figured it out yet. It's just a little sign. There's a group of folks in the US that was trying to figure out how to respond to gun violence in Philadelphia. They had done the work to figure out the ways that poverty and lack of opportunities and lack of community were feeding into the problem, and so they had moved into a neighborhood full of foreclosed homes and gang violence, and they had worked for years to build community gardens. They had gardens growing out of old television sets and whatever other garbage they could find that they'd cleaned up around the neighborhood. They threw street parties, right, for hours and hours in the summer. And bring the hoses out and let the kids run through the hoses on the hottest days in August. And they even did the work to start buying up those foreclosed houses and turning them back into homes so that people could live with dignity again, right? The problem was, now, instead of just finding out that there had been gun violence in their neighborhood, they found out that their friend had been gunned down by violence in their neighborhood. Problem was still there, and so they looked for a new vision for what they were aiming for. They found it in this section at the beginning of Isaiah chapter 2. There's a day coming, God says, when the mountain of God's house will be the mountain, solid, towering over all mountains. All nations will stream toward it. People from all over set out for it. They'll say, "Come, let's climb God's mountain, go to the house of the God of Jacob. He'll show us the way he works so we can live the way we're made." Zion's the source of the revelation. God's message comes from Jerusalem. He'll settle things fairly between nations. He'll make things right between many peoples. They'll turn their swords into shovels, their spears into hoes. No more will nation fight nation. They won't play war anymore. Come, family of Jacob, let's live in the light of God. And so these folks in Philly, they started taking in guns and turning them into gardening tools. I thought I had gardening tools in the back of the van. Didn't. Just have tools. But you know what? You get the picture. You get the picture. People would come from miles with guns that had been used to hurt those that they loved, with guns that had started to scare them more than they were instead of doing what they were supposed to do, which was to keep them feeling safe. And they left. They left with new trowels, new rakes, new garden tools, new possibilities for a future that was a little bit more like God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. So we need to start by getting honest. And then we need a vision for transformation. And the last thing I want us to encourage us to do with this freedom we have to be angry is to connect with other people who are already doing work with whatever area of injustice that has captured your attention. And especially to connect with those people who are at the center of the injustice. I know you all probably know this, but you'd be surprised by how often people forget this step. They're like, I see a problem. I'm going to save everyone. And they rush in as if they know everything. They don't. If you're interested in supporting issues around housing or disability supports or race or indigenous issues or the environment, reach out to folks who are unhoused, disabled, people who are racialized or indigenous, people who are actively doing the work that has caught your attention. It's so simple for some of us to think we're the first people to notice something unjust and set up a new initiative to help or to fix something we see as wrong. And sadly, this kind of approach not only makes it difficult for us to get to the kind of justice and fairness God is looking for, but it makes it hard not to create new forms of injustice that only serve to hurt and harm the very people we're hoping to help. But this idea of connection, it's not just about connecting with others who are already involved in this work. It's also about connecting around you with others, with friends and family, and with us here at Vox, to help us see the things God has made you passionate about and to draw us into the work that God is calling you to out of your anger. This is how Redwood started. Tim got really angry about something. He got really, very reasonably angry about the unjust housing situation here in Simcoe County. He started talking to people who were experts in the field, people who could help him see clearly what the root of the issues were. He and Rhonda took this trip out to Edmonton that he doesn't even remember when I asked him about it a few weeks ago. But I remember him going out and having this big, long conversation out in Edmonton and learning from someone who had had so much more experience with this. They built 49 housing units out in Edmonton. And it gave him a vision for what kind of transformation was possible. And then he started listening directly to people who are affected by the situation, the women who were trying to make a new start of life after the women's shelter. And he started talking to folks here at Vox about it, to Nathan, and then to the rest of us who were here at the time. And this church has gone through all sorts of waves of people as people have come in and then moved away. And so a lot of the people who were here when Redwood was just being started have moved on. But those of you who are new here, you need to know for a long time, getting Redwood off the ground was the thing that Vox did. We did the work to show up to tear apart a dilapidated building and then slowly, surely build it back up from the bones, right? Even our little kids were helping. Kids who are, the ones who sit up there now. They're not so little anymore, right? It took all of the energy and finances this little church could muster over the years, but you know what? only person in this room actively involved in the day-to-day operations of Redwood anymore is Tim. There's plenty of folks involved in it, but it's become its own entity. It's self-sufficient, more or less, with enough finagling. They've got employees and volunteers and buildings, and they've become so well known that I can go into any conversation in any theological space across this country and mention that I have a connection with Redwood Park Communities, and people know Tim, and they know Rhonda, and they know the work that has happened in this city because of this little tiny church. Because we listened when something made us angry, and we showed up and we did the work. Now, pick a day, any day, and there are dozens and dozens and dozens of people in this city who have keys to a home they get to call their own, a safe place to live and to heal and to grow, because we thought about injustice. So, sometimes anger is a problem. It's easy for outrage to overcome us, and when it does, it's something we need to get a handle on. But sometimes anger is actually the right response. Sometimes the tables really do need to be turned. It's at those times we're called to step into the ring, to get honest about the injustice around us, to find a vision for transformation that aligns with God's character and God's hope for the future. And when we do, it's amazing what sort of change can happen. And all of that makes me think it's time for something new for us here at Vox. If we're free to be angry, is it possible that there is a new injustice it might be time for us to respond to collectively as a church? We're now a fully affirming church, guys. We did that. Redwood is a functioning entity. We did that. What's next for Vox? This is going to take some bravery, folks. It's easy to be outraged. It's easy to give someone the bird as you're driving or mutter epithets under your breath at someone. That doesn't take courage in the slightest. But stepping out to start acting in Jesus-honoring, love-transforming ways in the world in response to the anger that is burning inside of us at the injustice we see around us, oh, guys, that takes guts. It takes guts, folks. And I'm not just talking about the big, showy responses like the risks Tim and Rhonda and others took personally to get Redwood off the ground. That definitely took guts. Absolutely. But you know what else takes guts? You know what else takes bravery? Investing time and effort and energy into tasks you know will never get you any accolades. Maybe you decide to start picking up garbage while you're walking the dog. You know it's never going to get you any thanks. You know it's all going to be there again the next time you take a walk. You could do the job every single day, and you'd always come home with a bag. You can hardly make a dent in the problem. You're just one person. Is it really going to change anything? That takes bravery to show up, to let that anger at injustice fuel you towards something positive. So what's stirring for you this morning? What ideas are rumbling around waiting for you to be brave enough to start exploring them? I'm not going to ask you to bare your soul right here, right now, this minute, but I do want to encourage you to start talking about them. Start talking about them with your partner. Start talking about them with Roy and I. Start talking about them with the other people sitting beside you and around you. Take that first courageous move, even if you have no idea what will come of it. Because I'm so curious what God is going to do with that. The worship team wants to come up. I'll pray. God, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the fact that you thought we were worth being angry for. You thought we were worth fighting for. You thought it was worth it to carve out a space where your holiness could dwell with us as human beings. He thought it was important to clean out that space 1,400 years later when it had been filled with all of that stuff, the noise and the animals and the money and the filth of it all. To carve out a space once again for the people on the most on the margins of that society to get to come and be close to your holiness. God, would you show us the things, the injustices around us, the ways that you are being misrepresented and maligned, the ways your love and your holiness are being twisted and perverted, and would you let us get angry about those things? And would you show us what you want us to do about that anger? Amen. going to give the benediction, and then you can do the last song. Thank you. I missed that on the schedule, but I'll just go with it. I'll pretend it was on purpose. Yeah, it's okay. You don't mind the benediction before the last song, do you? We can do it now. Okay. May God bless you with discomfort at easy answers, half-truths and superficial relationships. Discomfort so that you will live deep within your heart. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people. Anger so that you will work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, starvation, and war. Tears so that you will reach out to comfort them and turn their pain into joy. And may God bless you with foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in this world. Foolishness so that you will do what others claim cannot be done.
Feel free to stand if you're able.
Well, may God bless you and keep you, and we'll see you next weekend. Same bat time.
Same bad channel.
Oh, with more enthusiasm than that.
Same bad channel.
There you go.